Now, let's turn to the subject of the renewables target set by the Albanese Labor government, being administered by the brilliant Chris Bowen, and it looks as though their target for 2030, which is 82% renewables, is not going to get there. It could be years out. There are rising costs, there are bottlenecks, there are a whole string of problems. Now, to talk about what's gone wrong and where they're going and whether they'll ever get there, the man who knows the most is the environment editor at The Australian, Graham Lloyd. Graham, good evening. Welcome to the program. Thanks for joining us.
Good evening, Kel. Thank you.
Now, if they can't build the projects fast enough, if they just can't get the investment fast enough, are their targets totally unrealistic?
Well, there certainly was a time, Kel, and it wasn't that long ago when the targets that Australia set were ones that it knew it could meet. I think that was something that was consistent all the way through the Howard government, particularly, and into the Abbott government. But things have changed in this area. It's become an international contest, if you like, to project large targets. And most countries have got no thoughts of actually meeting them. Australia has put a hefty target for 2030. It's now obvious that we are a long way short of being able to deliver on that target. That was probably pretty obvious from the outset.
Can I say what worries me, Graham, is that we've got this business of trying to do what they're calling it a transition, aren't they? So the idea is you transition from a coal-fired power to renewable power, and the renewables are very slow coming on board, but they appear to have locked-in dates to shut down coal power. Eraring is set to shut down. It looks as though there could be a gap in the middle, and this won't be a transition at all, and we will suddenly be without sufficient dispatchable power in Australia. I mean, could something disastrous happen?
Well, I think it's something that is concentrating the minds of the people who've been promising for so long that it's all going to be a smooth transition. There's a very firm date for closing the power and a very loose date for replacing it with stuff that works. And you'll remember it wasn't long ago we were told that there would be this surge in new technologies, hydrogen and what have you, that would replace coal and gas to back everything up. And that's all been shelved because it's not going to work. So there is the real possibility that coal-fired power stations will be exiting when there's not enough in reserve to keep the system going. And all that means is that there's going to be extraordinary costs, either in limping the coal stations along or building something that is going to work and muddling on a very messy transition path.
Yeah. Look, I don't want to be unkind to Chris Bowen. No, actually, I do want to be unkind to Chris Bowen, let's be honest. He seems to be focusing on things which are not practical. He seems not to be facing the real science and the real engineering issues. I mean, is there a lack of contact with reality here?
I think certainly politicians have been told things that they've wanted to hear and believe, and they've turned out not to be true. I think engineers who were involved in the power system as it used to be were always very sceptical about the replacements that were being promised. And that's catching up with the political class who are used to things in documents and not so much out there in the serious real world.
OK, I'm going to perform a bit of magic here, Graham. I'm going to anoint you as being Australia's Energy Minister. What will you change?
Well, I think you'd certainly have to lean on gas a lot harder. And you're seeing a recognition of that by the federal government. And I think you would need to sit down and work out a plan that you can guarantee will deliver across a set time horizon and start putting that into place. Because there's no use just assuming that things are going to come good, because the evidence is they're not.
Now, just quickly, our vehicles, the vehicles we drive, there are emissions targets which have been announced by Chris Bowen, which will mean that the beloved petrol and diesel vehicles, tradies, utes and so on, are going to become more and more expensive. Next year, I gather, they're just going to name and shame the car makers who don't reach those targets, and then after that, they'll start penalising them. Am I right in thinking, Graham, that in fact Europe is pulling back from those kinds of emissions rules?
Well, certainly they set very strict targets in terms of when they would eliminate internal combustion engines altogether and everything would be batteries. They're backpedaling on that because the bottom line is consumers don't want to buy all electric cars. And I notice the federal government is looking at some name and shame mechanism for car makers who don't deliver enough low emissions vehicles. Well, the problem is that car makers can only sell vehicles that customers want to buy. So shame them for that. I don't think the customers are going to care too much. Then they're going to fine them. And the result of that will be that the cars that consumers do want will become more expensive.
Yeah, yeah. And we won't be happy about that. Graham Lloyd, thank you very much for your time tonight.